My brother James called at 7:30 on a Tuesday morning. I was in the kitchen making coffee when my phone buzzed. "Clarier, I need to ask you something strange." His voice had that careful tone he used when giving bad news to patients' families. "Is Michael home right now?" I glanced toward the living room, where my husband sat reading something on his tablet, still in his clothes. "Yes." "Why? Are you absolutely sure?" My hand still on the coffee pot. "James, I'm looking at him right now. He's sitting on the couch." "What's going on?" There was a long pause. "That's impossible, because I just treated him in the emergency room 20 minutes ago. He came in with broken ribs from a car crash. He's still here filling out discharge papers." The kitchen tilted. I gripped the counter. "What are you talking about?" "Your husband, Michael Thompson, 34 years old. Same birthday, same home, same insurance. Clarier, I need you to check something for me. See if he shows any signs of damage." I walked slowly into the living room. Michael looked up and smiled. "Coffee ready? How are you feeling?" I asked, my voice strangely far away in my own ears. "Fine. Why?" He set down his tablet. "You okay? You look pale." I looked at him. No bruises on his face. No wincing when he moved. "James is on the phone. He says, you're at the hospital." Michael's expression changed from confusion to something I couldn't read. "That's ridiculous. I'm right here." But his hand moved to his phone, picking it up too fast. "Let me call you back, James," I said, hanging up. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Michael stood. "Clarier, your brother definitely made a mistake. Mixed up people or something. He said it was you. Same name, same birthday, same insurance. Identity theft happens." He was moving toward the bedroom now. I should check my accounts. But something in the way he said it, in the way he wouldn't quite meet my eyes, made my stomach drop. I'd been married to Michael for 6 years. I knew his tells, and right now he was lying. I followed him to the bedroom. "Take off your shirt." "What?" "If you're fine, prove it. Take off your shirt, Claire." "This is crazy now." He looked at me for a long moment, then slowly pulled his t-shirt over his head. His chest was unmarked, no marks, no tape, nothing. My phone rang again. "James, Claire. He just left the hospital, but before he did, I took a shot of his driver's license. I'm texting it to you now." The shot came through. I stared at the license. Michael Anthony Thompson. Same birthday, but the plate number was different. The address was different. Someplace in Queens I'd never heard of. "Who are you?" I whispered. The man who looked exactly like my husband stared back at me. For the first time since I'd known him, or thought I'd known him, his face was completely unreadable. Then he said, "My name is Marcus, and your husband paid me $50,000 to take his place for 8 weeks. I sat down on the bed before my legs could give out. "What?" "I'm an actor. We met at an audition 3 years ago. People commented on how much we looked alike. Michael contacted me 2 months ago with a proposal." Marcus, not Michael, sat down slowly, keeping his distance. He said his company was investigating him for fraud. He needed to disappear for a while, make it look like he was still living his normal life while he moved money and hid his tracks. "You're wrong. I wish I was." He rubbed his face. He gave me scripts, told me about your routines, your habits, your favorite coffee mug, the way you like your eggs. He said you'd never notice because you've been getting distant lately. Said you barely looked at him anymore. The words hit like a slap, because there was truth in them. Michael and I had been going through a rough patch. Ever since his rise 6 months ago, he'd been working constantly. I'd thrown myself into my own job. We'd been living in parallel, not together. "Where is he?" "Singapore. Or that's where he said he was going. He's with his boss, Victoria. They've been having an affair for over a year." I stood up, rage replacing shock. "Get out of my house, Claire." "Wait, get out." He left. I heard the front door close. Then I sat on the edge of my bed and tried to breathe through the feeling that my entire life had just revealed itself to be a carefully built lie. My phone rang. "James, are you safe? Should I call the police?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "James, I need you to tell me everything the man at the hospital said. He was in a car crash on the Long Island Expressway. Minor accident, but he hit the steering wheel hard. Possible broken ribs, which is why he came in." He kept checking his phone, seemed anxious. When I came in and said his name, he looked shocked, Asked how I knew who he was. What did you tell him? That you're my sister. That I've met him a dozen times at family dinners. James paused. Claire, he didn't know you had a brother. He tried to cover it, but I saw the fear in his eyes. That's when everything crystallized. If Marcus had been studying Michael, learning his life, he would have known about James. Michael talked about my brother all the time, was proud of having a doctor in the family, which meant Marcus was telling the truth, which meant my husband was a stranger. The representative stated that there had been several large transfers over the past 6 weeks. 50,000 to an account I didn't recognize, 20,000 to another, 30,000 to a third. Mrs. Thompson, we flagged these as unusual, but they were approved with your husband's credentials and secondary password. What backup password? The one set up 2 months ago for big transfers. I hung up and opened our laptop, started going through Michael's emails, his papers, anything I could find. He'd been sloppy. Or maybe he'd figured I'd never look. There were emails to Victoria Hayes, his boss, plans for Singapore, property searches in countries with no extradition deals. But there was something else. A folder called JT Documents. Inside were medical papers for Jessica Thompson, Michael's twin sister. I'd heard about Jessica once years ago. Michael stated he had a twin who'd struggled with addiction, who their parents had cut off. He said they hadn't spoken in over a decade. He'd seemed sad about it, but resigned, like it was an old wound that had scarred over. The medical records showed recent hospitalizations, overdoses, mental holds and bills, tens of thousands of dollars in medical bills. The last paper was an email from 2 months ago. Jess, I know we haven't talked. I know you probably hate me, but I need help and I can pay. Can we meet? There was more. A poor idea. Michael would pay Jessica's hospital bills, all of them, if she helped him. He needed someone to pretend to be him just for a few weeks. Someone who could be in New York while he was in Singapore. Someone who could answer questions if anyone got suspicious. But Jessica was a woman. She couldn't claim to be Michael unless I pulled up the earlier medical records. Surgery. Face reconstruction after an accident, but not reconstruction to look like she did before. Remodeling to look like her brother. I was going to be sick. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Marcus. I'm sorry, I didn't know about the money until this morning. Check your husband's work machine. Password is your wedding date backwards. I found Michael's work laptop in his office. Entered the password, 7101217. The screen unlocked. Files, spreadsheets, emails, proof of embezzlement going back 18 months. Michael had been creating fake suppliers, approving invoices, funneling money into offshore accounts. The sum was staggering, $2.7 million. And Victoria Hayes wasn't his boss, she was his partner. She'd been helping him, using her position as VP of Finance to cover the tracks. I took screenshots of everything, emailed them to myself, to James, to 3 different email addresses I made on the spot. Then I called the police. The detective who came to my apartment was a woman in her 40s called Sarah Martinez. She listened to everything, took notes, examined the proof I'd printed out. Mrs. Thompson, I'm going to be honest with you. Your husband is in another country. The person who's been impersonating him hasn't legally committed a crime if he was paid to do a job and didn't know about the embezzlement. What about getting into my house? He had keys. He was invited. Legally, it's murky. So Michael gets away with it. I didn't say that. Detective Martinez leaned forward. We're going to need your help. But first, I need you to understand something. If your husband finds out, if he knows we're onto him, he'll disappear. We'll never find him. The money will be gone. Victoria Hayes will claim ignorance. Everyone walks. What do you need me to do? Nothing. For now, keep living your life. If Marcus calls you again, talk to him. We need to understand the full scope of what your husband planned. You want me to just act everything as normal? I want you to help us build a case that will actually stick. Marcus called that evening. I saw the cops at your building. You're watching my room. I'm trying to figure out what to do. Claire, I need you to know something. I'm not a good guy, but I'm not a monster. When Michael called me, I was 3 months behind on rent. I'd lost a part I'd been counting on. I have a daughter, Emma. She's 8. I was about to lose custody because I couldn't provide security. I don't care about your sob story. I know, but I need you to understand that I didn't know about the theft. I didn't know he was running away with someone. He told me he was protecting his family from false charges at work, that he needed time to clear his name. And you trusted him? I needed to believe him because the option was admitting I was helping destroy someone's life for money. He paused. Jessica called me this morning. Jessica, Michael's sister. The one who he trailed off Claire. She didn't know either. Michael told her he was protecting you, that there were people threatening you, and he needed her to help keep you safe, while he dealt with them. Jessica would do anything for her brother. He's the only family she has left. And he knew that. He used that. I thought about the hospital bills, the manipulation. Where is Jessica now? Rehab. She checked herself in yesterday. Asked me to apologize to you. Said she never should have agreed, but she thought she was helpful. She had surgery to look like him. No, Marcus's voice was strong. The surgery was reconstructive after a car crash 2 years ago. She was in bad shape. Michael paid for it, but the operator did what he could with what he had to work with. She happened to end up looking more like Michael than she did before. He saw a chance. I closed my eyes. This is crazy. Yeah, it is. Detective Martinez called me at midnight. We have a problem. Michael bought a return ticket to New York. He lands tomorrow afternoon. My blood went cold. Why would he come back? But, Mrs. Thompson, if he comes home, you need to act normal. Can you do that? I don't think I can be in the same room with him. You have to try. We're close to getting Victoria Hayes to flip. She doesn't know we're onto her yet. But if Michael comes home and feels something's wrong, this whole thing falls apart. I didn't sleep that night. I paced my room trying to figure out what to say, how to act. The man I'd loved for 6 years was a stranger. Had always been a stranger, maybe. Michael came home at 2:15 the next afternoon. I heard his key in the lock, heard the door open. Claire. I came out of the bedroom, looked at him standing there with his bag. He looked exactly like Marcus, exactly like Jessica must have looked after the surgery. They were all the same person wearing different masks. You're back early, I managed to say. Meeting got cancelled. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Everything okay? You look tired. Just a long week at work. He came closer, kissed my cheek. I forced myself not to move. His hand touched my waist, and I remembered Marcus saying Michael had briefed him on everything. Did that include this? The casual closeness of a marriage. I missed you, Michael said. Me too. We ordered food, sat on the couch. He talked about Singapore, about the weather, about talks that never happened. I nodded in the right places, asked questions, faked. At 9 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. Michael tensed. Who's that? I don't know. He went to the door, looked through the peephole, then his whole body went rigid. Michael Thompson. A voice came through the door. FBI, we have a warrant for your arrest. Michael turned to me. For a second his mask slipped, and I saw something underneath that made my skin crawl. Not fear, not even anger, just cold calculation. You knew, he said quietly. Your brother, my brother treated someone in the ER who had your name and your birthday, but a different story. I'm not stupid, Michael. I never was. I stood up. Don't say my name like you know me. You never knew me. I was just part of your escape plan. The FBI agents came in, read him his rights, handcuffed him. He didn't struggle, didn't protest, just kept looking at me, with that calculating expression, like he was trying to figure out where his plan had gone wrong. Victoria Hayes has been arrested in Singapore. One of the agents told me after they'd taken Michael away. She's cooperating. We've frozen all the offshore accounts. You'll get most of the money back. Most, not all. There would still be losses, still be damages, but I'd get something back at least. Detective Martinez came by the next morning. How are you holding up? I don't know, I said honestly. How do you process that your whole marriage was a lie? Slowly, with help, she handed me a card. Therapist who specializes in this kind of trauma. Trust me, you're going to need it. I looked at the card. Dr. Rebecca Chen. Is she good? The best. Marcus called me a week later. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. Then why are you calling? To tell you that I testified. Told them everything Michael told me. Every instruction he gave me. I'm cooperating fully. He paused. And to say I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything, but I am. You have a daughter, I said. Emma, yeah, do better for her. Be better than this. I'm trying. His voice cracked. I got a job. Real job, not acting. I'm 3 weeks into a 60-day chip program. I'm trying. Good. I hung up. Jessica called 2 days after that. Her voice was shaky, but clear. Claire, this is Jessica Thompson, Michael's sister. I know who you are. I'm in rehab. 90 days. My counselor thought it would help if I called you, to apologize, to try to make amends, even though I know that's not possible. I thought about hanging up, but something stopped me. Why did you agree to help him? Because he saved me once when we were kids. Our dad he wasn't good. And Michael protected me. So when he called after all these years and said he needed help, I thought maybe I could repay him. She sobbed. I thought he was protecting you. He told you that? He said there were people threatening you, that if he didn't move money around, hide for a while, they'd come after you. He said he needed me to be him, so you'd stay safe, so you wouldn't be alone. The manipulation was breathtaking. Michael had found everyone's pressure point and pushed Marcus's daughter. Jessica's guilt. My trust. Jessica, I said slowly, none of this was your fault. But I helped. He lied to you. He used your love for him as a weapon. That's not your fault. That's his. She cried harder. I don't know how to forgive myself. You start by getting better. By finishing rehab, by rebuilding your life without him in it. Can I? Can I call you sometimes when I get out? I thought about saying no. About cutting every connection to this nightmare. But Jessica was a victim too. We all were. Yeah, I said. You can call. The trial was 6 months later. Michael pleaded guilty to embezzlement, wire fraud, and identity theft. Victoria Hayes testified against him, got a lower sentence. Michael got 15 years. I was in the courtroom when the sentence was read. He looked at me once, and I saw it again. That cold judgment. He was already planning his next move, his next scheme. 15 years was just a hassle. I walked out of that courtroom and didn't look back. Marcus sent me a letter a year later. He'd gotten full control of Emma. He'd been cast in a small part in an off-Broadway play. He was 2 years clean. He included a picture of his daughter. She had his eyes, or the eyes I thought belonged to Michael. It was strange how genetics worked, how we could look at someone and think we knew them. Jessica graduated from her study. Got a job at a rehab center helping other people who struggled with what she'd struggled with. She called me every few weeks. We were becoming something like friends, though neither of us quite knew what to call it. As for me, I started over. New place, new job. I kept my wedding name though because I'd earned it. I'd survived it. It was mine now, not his. I also started speaking. At first it was just a neighborhood community center, a talk about financial abuse, about the warning signs I'd missed. But word spread. Companies started asking me to teach their accounting departments on fraud detection. Victim support groups asked me to share my story. One evening I was giving a talk at a university. Afterwards, a woman in her 20s approached me. My boyfriend controls all our money, she said quietly. He says it's because he's better with finances, but I'm starting to wonder. I gave her the card for the financial abuse hotline, gave her resources, told her to trust her instincts. Did you know? She asked. When it was happening, did you know something was wrong? I thought about that Tuesday morning, about James's call. About the moment I'd asked Marcus to take off his shirt and show he was who he claimed to be. I think part of me always knew, I said. I just didn't want to believe it. She nodded. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for listening. I drove home that night thinking about belief, about trust, about the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of the world. Michael had told himself a story where he was the hero, where everyone else was an obstacle to beat. Marcus had told himself a story where he was just an actor playing a part. Jessica had told herself a story where she was helping her brother. And I told myself a story where my marriage was fine, where the gap between us was just a phase, where love would be enough. We were all wrong, but the difference was some of us were ready to write a better story. My phone rang. Just checking in. I'm good. Just finished a talk. How'd it go? Really good, actually. I pulled into my parking space, looked up at my building, my home, mine. James, can I ask you something? Always. That morning you called when you saw Michael Marcus in the ER. What made you suspicious enough to call me? You mean besides the fact that he didn't recognize me? James laughed. He had a different wedding ring. Michael's ring had a writing inside. I saw it once when he was washing his hands at Thanksgiving. This ring was blank. It was a small thing, but it worried me enough to call. "You saved me," I said quietly. That call changed everything. "No, Claire, you saved yourself. I just gave you the facts. You did the rest." We talked for a few more minutes, then said goodbye. I sat in my car for a moment, thinking about that writing. See, I'd had it carved the week before our wedding. Michael had seemed touched. I wondered what he'd done with that ring. Pawned it possibly, or thrown it away. It didn't matter anymore. I went upstairs to my room, made myself food, watched a show. Normal things, small things, the kind of things you take for granted, until someone tries to steal them from you. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. 6 months clean today. I smiled, texted back, "Proud of you. Thank you for not giving up on me." I looked at those words for a long time. Then I typed, "Thank you for not giving up on yourself." Because in the end, that's what this whole nightmare had taught me. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Marcus had to choose recovery, Jessica had to choose healing, and I had to choose to rebuild. Michael had chosen lies, trickery, theft. But I got to choose my ending, and I chose to live, to thrive, to turn the worst thing that ever happened to me into something that might help someone else avoid the same fate. 6 months after the sentence, I got a call from the FBI. They'd found more victims. Michael had done this before, in smaller ways, other relationships where he'd stolen money, twisted people, disappeared before anyone could catch him. I was just the most elaborate version of a plan he'd been running for years. "We need you to testify," the agent said. "Some of the other victims want to file civil suits. Your testimony could help them recover their losses." "Of course," I said without hesitation, because that's the thing about surviving something like this. You understand you have a choice. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you into something better. I pick strong. Every time I tell my story now, I end with the same lesson. Trust your gut. Check your accounts. Ask questions. Your partnership should be open in love and in finances. And if someone makes you doubt your own perception of truth, that's not love, that's abuse. Sometimes people ask me if I'll ever trust someone again, if I'll ever remarry. I tell them the truth. I don't know. Maybe. But if I do, it'll be with someone who knows that trust isn't given blindly. It's gained slowly, proven consistently, and built on a foundation of honesty. Michael taught me what love isn't. Someday, maybe I'll find out what it is. But until then, I have this. My apartment, my work, my mission. The women and men I helped spot the signs I missed. The lives I might save by sharing how close I came to losing mine. James was right. I saved myself. And that's enough. That's everything.